All right, thanks for tuning in once again. It's Ishmael Sistrunk from the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com, and with our Rams Roundup columnist, Palmer Alexander III. And this is a Rams recap. This week we're talking about the Rams versus the Vikings. First off, I'm always the first one willing to gloat when my pick is right. This week, we were horribly wrong. And this is one of those weeks where I look back and I'm looking at my pick and I'm wondering, what the hell was I thinking? You know, we're looking at the Rams defense in the past and how they did well against run stoppers. And we thought, hey, they're going to keep AP bottled up. They're going to keep Peterson, you know, we knew they weren't going to shut him down, but we figured they'd hold him to a reasonable amount. That didn't happen. AP went crazy, 212 rushing yards. The Vikings won 36-22. Obviously, it knocks the Rams out of the playoff hunt, but how bad is this defeat for the Rams?
It's still so fresh. You know what I'm saying? It's still fresh. And I don't want to make more out of it than what it is. But it's just that is such a gut-wrenching loss. And I say that because you look at what the team has just done over the last 3 weeks. They have shown some improvement, beating one of the best teams in the league, the San Francisco 49ers, beat them in overtime, winning a tough game, a comeback victory on the road against Buffalo, handling business against a lesser their team, the Arizona Cardinals, made a great adjustment in the second half. And then you have all this momentum, Fan Appreciation Day, and you play this poorly. And just in all phases of the game, the Rams lost. Every phase of the game that they lost, and it just disappointing. It's very disappointing. Those things I just don't expect to see happen with the Jeff Fisher team. I just don't.
Well, one thing we've noted in the past is, you know, this team has been inconsistent. Usually they have played better at home than on the road, but even in recent weeks, they've started to play better on the road. But you know, that is still one of those things with the youth where they are going to be inconsistent.
The reason why that happened, I mean, 212 yards, okay, yeah, he gashed him. It was 2 big plays. The 80-yard touchdown run should have never happened in the first place. And I put that squarely on the coaching staff. Is first, the Vikings are on their own 18-yard line. And the Rams, as I've talked about before, with their 4-man front, when those guys on that front 4 are spaced out like that, they are expecting the pass. Craig Dahl was 25 yards away from the line of scrimmage, and before you know, there was a big gaping hole, and then he takes off. When you see the replay, Kendall Langford back was turned to quarterback. He's dropping off in coverage. Why you got your defensive tackle dropping off in coverage when he needs to be stuffing the run? When the Rams had success early in the game, he had 8 rushes for 8 yards. William Hayes had 2 tackles, for loss. Jolyn Dunbar, those guys on the D-line was doing something, with the exception of Robert Quinn. But defensively, when your coaching staff trying to outsmart themselves when they didn't have to, getting away from what's been making them successful the last 3 weeks, having 7-man fronts, having guys stay in that box, they did that to themselves. That is what's so frustrating about that.
But isn't that the key to keeping a sustained rushing attack, to where when you have a back like Adrian Peterson, you keep giving them the football. No team's gonna let you run for 80 yards every carry, so they kept feeding him the football. The first 8 carries, like I said, the Rams had him bottled up, but then he's able to break one, and that's the thing. When you have a back like that, a dynamic back, you keep giving him football, and something's going to open up. And even on that big play, it looked initially like it was going to be maybe a 7 to 9 yard run, and then Adrian Peterson, being Adrian Peterson, cut to the outside. He made a cut. It was like the hole kind of clogged up, and he just made a good cut and hit that seam, and he was gone.
And here's the thing, and I'm not picking on him, but I mean, really, Craig Dahl is just not a good football player at all. When Adrian Peterson made to that second level so fast, he did not want no part of Adrian Peterson, and it's just unfortunate. The other thing, Robert Quinn, is such a non-factor as a run defender. Just evident. Look at Eugene Sims. Eugene Sims had a sack yesterday. I'm telling you, man, we starting to see what this team is able to do, and the future still looks good, but I see where we could be able to make some change and be better.
Yeah, well, Robert Quinn, I think, that's something we knew coming in. He's a pass rusher. He's a smaller defensive end. He's one of these new age guys where he's fast. He's able to get around the outside. That's what they brought him in for, to get to the quarterback.
But he only has one move.
He's going to be vulnerable to the Russian attack. That's just the way it is. So that's why you got to have that, those defensive tackles and those linebackers that are able to make up for that weakness, because what he does well, he does really well, but what he does poorly, he does pretty poorly.
Well, for him to be a speed rusher, he had 7.5 sacks. He got 4 of them in one game. That's not the kind of productivity that you expect, from a first-round pick. But like I say, the other thing is that I don't want my nose tackles dropping off of coverage. What do you really? You signed Langford to be a run stopper. You drafted Michael Brockers to be a run stopper. You didn't draft those guys to drop them off into coverage. You know what I'm saying? I don't. It's like it's defeating the whole purpose of it, and I don't understand it. They just getting too cute with it, Ishmael. Just keep it simple. That's why they've been winning, and they got away from it.
Yeah, and I think you have to mix it up a little bit, but in this game especially, where Adrian Peterson's really the sole weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at Christian Ponder, he had a decent game, 17 for 24, 131 yards. Not spectacular by any means. He's not a guy that's going to be chucking it all around the field, spreading it out to different receivers like Tom Brady or some of the elite level quarterbacks. He's just a guy that's going to manage the game. So when you face a guy like that, you really do have to go all in on stopping Adrian Peterson and try to make Christian Ponder beat you, which that is something that it doesn't seem like that was necessarily the game plan. It did seem like in the second half, the Rams were able to right some of those wrongs. In the first half, it was pretty much they just got dominated. In the second half, they did show some signs of life. They showed some adjustment, at least offensively. How important do you think that is? Is that something that Jeff Fisher can go and draw off on and say, okay, hey, we lost this game pretty bad, but we showed life in the second half, and get them to keep going down the stretch?
That's good. You good, man.
No moral victories.
They lose by 23 points. They got no choice but to throw the football. But the offensive line was shoddy. Bradford was sacked 4 times. It just looks like when a pocket collapses on Bradford, he just tucks the ball, goes into the fetal position. He misfired on 3 guys that was wide open. Miss Austin Pettis. If Austin Pettis gets wide open, and how often does that happen? He gets wide open, he misses them. Amendola was wide open on the seam route, overthrew him actually on 2 different occasions. The pick 6 was big, the botched fumble was big, and now we're talking about more points and self-inflicted wounds. So again, Bradford pretty much gave them 17 of their 36 points. Okay, so those things can't happen from Sam. Steven Jackson didn't get the ball enough. He didn't run the ball enough. And when you got a back like Adrian Peterson, what they want to do, they want to control the clock, and they never did it from the jump. They come out in the spread formation, being pass happy. You got Steven Jackson line up as your flanker receiver. That's the same stuff that Josh McDaniels was doing a year ago. It just doesn't work. And I just don't understand it, man.
Yeah, well, I think part of it, Steven Jackson, he did have a good game. 13 carries, 73 yards, 8 receptions for 73 yards. The thing with him is that the Rams were down by so much so early that they really couldn't rush. They really couldn't get him 20, 25 rushes in this game. They could have, but they were playing catch up for most of the game. So I think that's part of the reason that they were passing him the ball more than they were getting it to rush him to. But one thing I want to go back to, you mentioned about Sam Bradford. and it really did catch my eye on a couple of those sacks that he got. It seemed like he had time to throw the ball away.
Yes.
It seemed like he saw the defender, and there was enough time where he could have just thrown it out of bounds or chucked it downfield. But like you said, he kind of just went in and got in that field position like, go ahead, take me, Big Daddy. and I noticed that, and I just sat there and I was like, wow, he's seeing this defender, but instead of reacting, he's just covering up.
Yeah, and that's what drives people crazy about Bradford. You look at somebody. Listen. I know Bradford's a better quarterback than Christian Ponder. All right, but when you see a guy like Christian Ponder extend the play when he got that touchdown, and then you look at your number one draft pick from 2 seasons ago, a rookie of the year, you're like, why is he not doing this? You see RG3 coming to the league and just making things happen. The Redskins on the cusp of the playoffs. Russell Wilson doing a great job. When you see guys do that stuff, you're looking at a number one draft pick. Like, why is he's having trouble? I mean, and I can say Sam is still a good quarterback. You can build around him, but like I say, when you see a quarterback just practically just give up,
right?
Not extend the play is very disheartening. And that's why there are a bunch of people called the Bradford haters out there, just saying like we don't want him anymore. Well, he's not helping his own cause either.
Yeah, and it's especially crazy, which we know Bradford isn't in the same, he is on the same level as a guy like Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
But when you're looking at highlights and you see Ben Roethlisberger holding the ball for it seemed like 20 seconds, and he's just moving this way, moving out the way, dodging guys with not, he's a big guy. He's not the most agile guy, but he knows how to evade those defenders. So when you see Bradford see a defender and just freeze up, and then you see Roethlisberger just dancing with the stars past the defensive tackles,
right.
It's just a huge contrast, and you hope that, something can click in Bradford, or he can talk to somebody that'll help him get more confidence. But it may have been those Spagnuolo years of getting crushed.
Yeah.
He that may have done a number on him.
Yes.
Let's go back to Adrian Peterson. He could be on pace to break Eric Dickerson's rushing record. He had 212 against the Rams. That leaves him with 1,812 yards total with 2 games ago. The record's 2,105. You think he'll be able to break that record?
Yeah, I think he can. And without being so much of a homer, you got to give the Vikings offensive line a lot of credit because, they did a great job opening lanes for him to run through, pushing the Rams back when they could. And he has a great offensive line. You got 2 bookends with Phil Ludholt and Matt Khalil. You can run outside. You can run inside with him. He's one of the best I've seen. I mean, really, I've watched Barry. We watch Barry. We watch Bo Jackson, Adrian Peterson. He's different. I mean, he's just different. A guy that's tore his ACL and he's wreaking havoc on the league. I've never seen anything like that. We may never see another player like him, maybe in our generation.
Yeah, that's the part that really gets me is that it's a year removed from that surgery, which usually takes people a full year before they're able to get back up to speed. So if he's this good this year, what's he going to do next year? That's what I'm scared to see because he's probably not fully healed yet. So what's he going to do next year? But that's why I give the Rams defense a little more slack than you probably are because this guy's about to break the all-time rushing record possibly. So I'm not surprised that he ran crazy on the Rams. I didn't think so beforehand, but he did. And it's just like, hey, when Jordan will go for 50, some nights there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
All righty, well, this might be a tough part. Come to Palmer's players of the games on the offensive side of the ball. We got some decent numbers on the board, even though that we lost. So who do you give it to?
I'm going to give it to Steven Jackson. Steven did as much as he could. He doesn't call the plays. He just executes. Went over the 10,000-yard barrier. I'm happy for him. A lot of people say it may be his last game as a Ram. I really don't think so, so I'm going to give it to Steven Jackson.
All right, what about on the defensive side of the ball? This might be a little more difficult to hand out.
I'm not giving nobody nothing. 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 You hear me? This is the first week. Nobody get nothing.
Nobody.
Nothing. I mean, no. I can't do it. I can't do it when you. That just, bad, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, if the Rams, if you guys ever want to make it to that next level, honestly, you cannot win with Craig Dallas free safety. You can't. They lucky they won 6 games, man. They lucky. If he's that last guy back there, you expect him to make a play? Might as well hang it up. Or pull a Barry Bryant right out from the sideline and trip him. I don't know.
and similarly, it's funny that you gave nobody, because I was sitting and I was trying to determine who was going to get the intangible player of the week.
I want to see what you say.
And I had trouble, and so I think I'm going to give it to, and I asked you before the show, was it William Hayes that made that hit on Adrian Peterson in the second quarter? Because it was a pretty good hit right in the backfield.
Yeah.
As soon as Peterson got the ball, he just took him out. And I was impressed. And I think that was before the big run. So maybe that woke Adrian Peterson up. But I'm going to give it to William Hayes.
I love
Hayes. He was one of the few guys that touched Adrian Peterson in that game. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a game ball, give him the intangible player of the week, because nobody else really touched him too much. So that's our show for this week. We want to thank you once again for tuning in. My name is Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com. Palmer, if people want to follow you, where do they go? You can follow me with Talk Sports, In Control Chaos, and this Sunday I'll be on James Ingram's show on WGNU 920 talking about the Rams, and be talking about the North Carolina Tech Golden Eagles. Man, they won this basketball tournament in St. Charles, one of the biggest wins in school history. Don Boyce took over the program, doing a good job. All right, congratulations to North County Tech. We'll see you next